Hi, my name is Tomasz and you're watching Casual DIY channel. In today's episode we'll continue our adventure with resins. In particular, we're actually going to be making a mold from HDPE plastic. So if you're interested, stay tuned and check out the video. I've got two sheets, 50 by 50 centimeters. It's a 1 centimeter in thickness. Now this type of plastic is actually fairly expensive, hence the molds you can find on the internet to buy are again quite expensive. But as in most cases, if you do it yourself, you actually may save quite a lot of money. I will be making two molds today, one for pen blanks and the other one for knife scales. So if you're looking and interested in those, the dimensions of these will be actually in the description of my video. There are quite a few different designs on the internet of these molds. Again, all the dimensions for these boxes and how many scales and how many pen blanks they should you should be able to achieve with those will be down below in the description of this video. And to cut everything out, I'm actually using my table, so I think that's going to give me the cleanest cut, as it is quite important to have a really nice straight edge on those boards, as you don't really want to have any leaks. So the more precise you're going to be able to do the cuts, basically you'll be able to contain all the epoxy in those boxes. And the rest of the cuts will be done on my miter saw. Later on in the video I will let you know two ways of how you can actually sort out a leaking mold. And to be fair, all the molds that are made from HDPE, if you are making those molds yourself, you're probably gonna have a leak. It's just the way your tools will be, because cutting them on a table saw or a bandsaw will leave the edges quite rough, and if you're not gonna sand it absolutely flat, you will have small issues. But they are easily sortable. So watch the whole video to find out two tips that you can use to sort that out. So how we're going to put all these boxes together? Well, very simple. Basically, we're going to screw them together. But before we do that, obviously we need to pre-drill the holes so the plastic will not split when we're actually going to be putting through the screws. So the way these boxes are constructed is that you're only going to need to remove front and back of these, and basically then you're gonna be able to take out your casting, so that will eliminate the need of undoing the whole box, and you're just gonna have a limited amount of screws to actually take out. So let's pre-drill the holes now. And now it's time to put everything together. Right then, so our molds are sorted, as you can see. No issues. It's not really a difficult task to do. One thing I want to mention to you before you jump in and doing those, I do suggest that you actually pick up a sheet of this HDPE plastic that's at least 1.5 centimeters in thickness. As to be fair, with the one I've got, which is only 1 centimeter, well, you have to be really precise with the screws, and I think on 2 occasions I've got them bulging outside of the plastic. So it's because it's basically a little bit on the thin side, but if you went with 1.5 centimeters in thickness, you won't have any issues at all. Now with these molds, they are very simple, and because we only use screws, eventually they will not hold as good as it is at this beginning, because obviously the screw goes in and out so many times, and that thread will wear off, and basically they will not hold as well. And there is a solution to that. So I will be making a bit more advanced version of these in the coming future. So if you're not a subscriber, please consider subscribing so you don't miss that video. One thing that I always recommend with molds that actually have to put them together, before you do your casting, do the water test and see if there's any leaks. But to be absolutely honest with you, regardless of the mold, if I've bought one online or if I actually made it myself, I always double secure it in one of the two ways I'm just going to show you now. So the first option to sort a leaking mold is to use a hot glue. So the hot glue, use it on the outside joints of your mold and make sure to cover all of it. And to be fair, when you're done and dusted, it's actually quite easy to remove the glue, but it will make sure that your mold will stay intact and basically you will have no leaks. And the second method I do recommend, and it's as simple as the hot glue, basically is to use some silicone, but this time use the silicone on the inside of your mold, so all on the joints around the mold. And these are the two main ways I secure my molds from any leaks. As I mentioned before, I do it regardless if I've got a mold that is not leaking after the water test, because you know, epoxy dries over so many hours and there could be a micro leak that you will not be able to see it with the water test, and basically some of your epoxy may actually escape. So it's always good to use either of these methods to make sure that your mold is absolutely 100% leakage proof. The last thing you want is to spend a lot of money on your resin, and if you're casting it with wood or anything else, you know, it's just cost that you don't want in your project. So simple solutions. So then guys, that's all for today's video. I hope you enjoyed it and you got a bit of inspiration from it, and it brought you some value. If it did, drop me that like button down below. If you got any more questions, you know where the comment section is, and I hope to see you on my next resin epoxy adventure. Till then, take care.